She texted, "I'm keeping the ring, but marrying him. Thanks for the down payment on my new life." I replied, "You're welcome." Hours later, her screaming voicemail went viral when she learned the ring was fake. While I quietly moved on and built the life she thought she'd stolen from me, that I never thought I'd get to the point of planning a proposal only to watch it implode in such cinematic fashion. We had been dating for almost 3 years. She was beautiful, smart when she wanted to be, and carried herself with that kind of charm that could light up a room. But if you watched closely, you'd notice something underneath, an itch for status, validation, and being adored. At first, I mistook it for ambition. Later, I realized it was hunger. Still, when things were good, they were good. We traveled together, spent holidays with family, and even started talking about merging our finances. She would drop hints about marriage, about the kind of ring she deserved. I pretended to play dumb, but truth be told, I was already planning the proposal. Except something gnawed at me. There were late-night texts she'd hide, vague explanations about just friends, and the way she suddenly seemed extra busy on weekends. I brushed it off, thinking maybe I was just paranoid. I wanted to believe the best in her. Then came the text. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was at work, scrolling through my emails, when my phone buzzed. A message from her. "I'm keeping the ring, but marrying him. Thanks for the down payment on my new life." At first, I thought it had to be some kind of twisted joke. But no, she was serious. My fiancée, the woman I was supposed to propose to the following month, had not only admitted she was leaving me for someone else, but she was planning to use the engagement ring I'd bought her as her starter kit with him. I remember staring at the message for a long time. My coworkers laughed about something in the background, but all I heard was silence. I should have been furious. I should have been heartbroken. Maybe I was both. But in that exact moment, a strange calm washed over me. I typed back just 2 words. "You're welcome." And then I put my phone down. Here's what she didn't know. The ring she'd been flashing to her friends for weeks wasn't real. Oh, it sparkled like the real thing. It came in the same box, with the same certificate that she never bothered to verify. But the truth was, I had caught wind of her other guy long before that Thursday. I wasn't about to drop thousands of dollars on someone whose loyalty was already up for debate. So I bought a flawless-looking, lab-created ring at a fraction of the price, one that could fool anyone at a glance. My plan had been to upgrade it later, once she proved she was in it for the long haul. Instead, it turned into the best insurance policy I could have ever imagined. The fallout was immediate. That night, I received a voicemail. Not just any voicemail, a screaming, shrieking, borderline incoherent tirade. She had gone to some jeweler with her new fiancé to size the ring properly, probably imagining the smug look she'd wear when he saw the appraisal value. Except the jeweler had taken one look and gently informed her it wasn't worth anywhere near what she thought. Not only that, but word must have gotten back to her new man. From what I gathered between the curses and sobs in her message, he wasn't thrilled about starting their new life with a fake ring, especially one bought by another guy. Meanwhile, I sat on my couch, sipping a beer, listening to her meltdown on repeat. I don't know what was better, the delicious irony of her arrogance backfiring, or the knowledge that I'd dodged a bullet so cleanly it felt like divine intervention. And this was just the beginning of the chaos. Because once her family, her friends, and even her new fiancé found out the full story, the ripple effect turned her perfect little plan into a spectacular train wreck. The screaming voicemail was just the appetizer. The main course came over the next several days, served cold and messy, with a side of humiliation. The first crack appeared the night she and her new fiancé walked out of the jeweler's. I don't know the exact details, only what I pieced together later through mutual friends and her drunken texts. But apparently, he demanded to know why she had been bragging about the ring as if it were a 6-month salary rock. She spun some story about me being cheap and spiteful. But the jeweler had handed them a written appraisal, a few $100. Her fiancé wasn't buying her excuses. By the time she called me again, 1:17 a.m., to be exact, she was sobbing. This time, the venom was gone. Instead, she begged, "Please just tell me you didn't do this on purpose. Tell me it was a mistake. You humiliated me in front of him. He thinks I'm a gold digger." I didn't answer. I just let the call go to voicemail. The next morning, my phone lit up like a slot machine. First, her mother called, then her sister, then her cousin. Each message carried the same tone, equal parts anger and disbelief. Her mom's voice shook as she said, "You need to fix this. You've ruined her engagement." Her sister spat venom. "You're petty and jealous. You destroyed her happiness out of spite." But my favorite came from her cousin, who whispered, almost gleefully, "You know, everyone's talking. You made her look like a fool. Half of us knew she was two-timing, but no one thought you'd actually outplay her." That was the first time I smiled all week. What I hadn't realized was just how quickly the story would spread. Apparently, she had been parading that ring around at family dinners, in group chats, on Instagram, every possible stage she could find. To her, it wasn't just jewelry. It was a trophy, proof that she'd won. She loved to humble brag about how her sweet, stable boyfriend, me, had finally stepped up. So when the truth broke, that she had flaunted a fake ring bought by the man she ditched, only for her upgrade fiancé to walk out on her, it wasn't just gossip. It was a wildfire. Her Instagram went private within 48 hours. People screenshot her old posts, captioning them with crying laughing emojis. One even went mildly viral in our local community page, a photo of her hand flashing the ring, with the caption, "Flexing cubic zirconia like it's Cartier." Meanwhile, I stayed quiet. No posts, no comments, no drama. I just went to work, came home, and carried on as if nothing had happened. My silence was gasoline on the fire. The less I said, the more people speculated. And every time she tried to shift the narrative, he tricked me. Or he set me up. It only made her look worse. Because here's the thing, no one forced her to cheat. No one forced her to announce she was leaving me for someone better. And no one forced her to gloat in that text about keeping the ring. That was all her. The chaos really peaked the following weekend. She showed up at my apartment. I wasn't even surprised. Her knock was frantic, uneven, almost desperate. When I opened the door, she looked nothing like the smug, confident woman who had texted me days earlier. Her makeup was smeared, her hair disheveled, and her eyes swollen from crying. She tried to push her way inside. "We need to talk," she said. I blocked the doorway. "About what?" "You're engaged." "Congratulations." That broke her. She collapsed against the frame, sobbing into her hands. "He left," she choked out. "He said he can't trust me. He called me shallow, manipulative, said he doesn't want a life with someone who lies about everything. He's gone." I stood there, arms crossed. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't reach out. Instead, I said, calmly, "Then maybe you should start telling the truth." She spiraled after that. Over the next month, I heard through the grapevine that she lost friends, her job started questioning her distractions, and she even moved back in with her parents. She kept trying to spin the story. Sometimes I was the villain. Sometimes her ex-fiancé was the villain. Sometimes life itself was to blame. But the pattern was clear. The more she tried to control the narrative, the worse it looked. And the harder she fell. Meanwhile, I wasn't thriving out of spite. I wasn't posting victory laps or flaunting anything. But I was lighter. For the first time in years, I wasn't checking texts late at night, wondering who she was really with. I wasn't funding someone else's dream life at the expense of my own. The peace was worth more than any diamond ring. What she didn't understand, what she still probably doesn't, is that the ring was never the point. It wasn't about the appraisal or the embarrassment. It was about showing me who she truly was when she thought she'd already won. And when someone shows you that version of themselves, you believe them. Update 1. It had been about 3 months since the whole fiasco with the ring blew up. Honestly, by that point, I thought the worst of it was over. She had gone silent for a while, her Instagram scrubbed of all the engagement posts, and mutual friends stopped bringing her up in conversations. For me, life had normalized. I won't pretend I jumped into some perfect, shining new chapter overnight. The truth was, I spent those first weeks just trying to find a rhythm again. I worked later hours, went back to the gym, even picked up reading before bed instead of doom scrolling through my phone. But most importantly, I finally stopped bracing for drama. No more tense late-night arguments. No more passive-aggressive digs about money, gifts, or what I wasn't doing enough of. Just quiet. And God, the quiet was beautiful. Then, one night, she broke it. It was around 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. I was on my couch, halfway through a documentary, when I heard my phone buzz. Her name lit up the screen. I hadn't deleted her number, not out of sentimentality, but because I wanted to know if she ever tried to contact me again. The message was short. "Can we talk? Just 5 minutes." I ignored it. 5 minutes later, another one came through. I know I messed up. Please. I'm not asking to get back together. I just need closure. Closure. That word again. It always seems to appear when someone wants to drag you back into the same mess you just crawled out of. I put the phone face down on the table. The next day, she escalated. A handwritten letter showed up in my mailbox. I'll admit, my curiosity won, and I read it. The first half was the usual: apologies, explanations, admissions that she had been confused and pressured by expectations. She blamed her need to show off on social media, claimed she had been living for likes instead of for herself. But the second half, it was a plea. She wrote about how everyone had abandoned her, how friends she thought were ride or die turned their backs, how her ex-fiancé had blocked her number, how her own parents were tired of the drama. And then the kicker: you were the only one who ever saw me for who I was. I didn't appreciate it then, but I do now. Please, just meet me for coffee. I just want to see you. I folded the letter back up, slipped it into the envelope, and tossed it in the bottom drawer of my desk. I didn't respond. That weekend, though, she decided to test her luck again. I was at a friend's barbecue, my first time really socializing since the breakup, when she showed up. I have no idea how she knew I'd be there. Maybe she asked around. Maybe she stalked social media. But there she was, walking into someone else's backyard like she belonged. Conversations froze. People exchanged looks. My stomach sank, not because I wanted her there, but because I knew she would turn it into a performance. She made a beeline for me. Please, she said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Just hear me out. I set my drink down and stood. You need to leave. Her face crumpled, but she didn't move. I'm not leaving until you listen. I love you. I was stupid. Please. At that point, my buddy Mark, God bless him, stepped in and guided her out. The rest of the night, people kept checking in with me, asking if I was okay. Honestly, I was more embarrassed for her than anything else. Because what she didn't understand, what she still doesn't, maybe, is that once trust is broken in that way, once someone shows you their selfishness so plainly, there's no going back. The irony? A week later, I went on my first real date since everything ended. A woman I met through a coworker. Smart, kind, grounded. No pretenses, no performative drama. She laughed at my terrible puns, asked about my family, and didn't once bring up material things. For the first time in months, I felt like I was sitting across from someone who saw me, not just what I could provide. When I got home, there was another voicemail waiting from my ex. This one was quieter, softer. I saw you with her. I'm glad you're happy. I wish it was me. I deleted it without replying. Here's the thing: healing doesn't happen all at once. It's not a Hollywood montage where you hit the gym, shave your beard, and suddenly become whole again. It's slow, uneven, with setbacks and small victories. But every ignored text, every deleted voicemail, every moment I chose peace over chaos, it was like laying another brick in the wall between her and my new life. And with each brick, I realized something important. She hadn't just lost me. She had lost the version of herself she pretended to be when we were together. The woman who wanted to be admired, adored, and taken care of. Without me as her stage, there was no audience left. By the time I started seeing the new woman more seriously, my ex had gone completely silent. No letters, no texts, no surprise appearances, just silence. And that silence was the best gift she could have ever given me. Final update. It's been just over a year since everything happened. If you'd told me then that I'd be writing this update from a completely different headspace, calmer, lighter, even grateful, I would have laughed in your face. Back then, I felt raw, like my entire sense of judgment had betrayed me. Now, I see the whole thing differently. After my ex's last voicemail, the one where she admitted she'd seen me with someone else, she vanished. At first, I thought it was the calm before another storm. But weeks turned into months, and her name never appeared on my phone again. No letters in my mailbox. No ambushes at social events. The silence was strange at first, like living in a house where a clock you hated suddenly stopped ticking. The quiet was too loud. But then, I started to breathe easier. I could focus on myself, my work, and the new relationship that was slowly but steadily taking shape. And that's where the real story of this update begins. The woman I mentioned, the one from my coworker's setup, is still in my life. In fact, she's a cornerstone of it now. We're not rushing into labels, but what we have feels solid, healthy, and real. Here's a small but telling example. A few months in, I offered to pick her up for dinner. She smiled and said, "Actually, let me drive this time. You've been doing too much already." It sounds so minor, but that one gesture told me more about her than any grand romantic speech. She wanted balance, not dependence. Partnership, not sponsorship. It was refreshing in a way I didn't even realize I needed. Meanwhile, word about my ex eventually trickled back to me. I didn't seek it out. I stopped following the gossip pipeline, but people talk. She had moved back in with her parents for a while, then bounced between short-term relationships, none of which lasted more than a couple of months. Friends who used to defend her stopped mentioning her at all. One of them finally admitted, she burned too many bridges. Nobody wants to get caught in her mess anymore. I almost felt bad when I heard that. Almost. But then I'd remember the smug tone of her text. "I'm keeping the ring, but marrying him. Thanks for the down payment on my new life." And the pity evaporated. Here's what really stuck with me, though. I ran into her sister at a coffee shop about 6 months ago. We chatted politely, nothing more. But before leaving, she said quietly, she knows she ruined everything. She just won't say it out loud. I nodded, thanked her, and walked away. That was the last time her name crossed my lips in person. The biggest lesson I've carried with me isn't about revenge or getting the last laugh. It's about clarity. When someone shows you that you're just a stepping stone, a wallet, a placeholder, a backup plan, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is step off their stage and let them flail in their own spotlight. You don't need to fight. You don't need to scream. Sometimes silence and boundaries are the sharpest weapons you'll ever wield. And honestly, watching her implode wasn't nearly as satisfying as building a life where she didn't matter anymore. These days, I don't think about her unless I'm reminded. I've reclaimed the things I used to love: weekend hikes, playing guitar, even just cooking for myself without someone critiquing every little detail. The new woman in my life. She laughs when I burn the edges of pancakes, and she steals fries off my plate without asking. It's messy in all the right ways. It feels human, real. That's what love is supposed to feel like. Not a transaction, not a performance, not a scoreboard. And the irony? The real diamond I thought I'd wasted money on, I never bought it. But I think I found something more valuable instead. So yeah, her screaming voicemail might have been legendary at the time, but the true legend is this: walking away, staying quiet, and letting time do its work. She destroyed herself. I just chose not to follow her down.